It's fairly straightforward to create a histogram or a graphical display of this data that you find in a frequency distribution table, even when it's grouped frequency distributions like we've got here. What I have to do is set up a vertical and a horizontal axis, and the convention in your course is to make the horizontal axis a little bit longer. I think that they say they want this vertical axis here, which is going to list our frequencies, to be about 2/3 the size of the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis keeps track of our scores, or it gives the scale of our scores. Another quick rule is we're supposed to start with 0, representing 0 frequency in the same place as 0 on our X scale. However, in many cases, you're going to find that 0 is starting off a little bit low for our scores, for the scale of our scores, especially in this example I'm working through here. Have a look at our data. Our data never gets down close to 0. In fact, we start our lowest category at 25. To deal with this, all you need to do is just show a little bit of a break in your axis, meaning that after we've started at 0, we're going to have a lot of empty categories that we don't need to list here, and then we can get into listing our first category, which is going to be the 25 to 29. And so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different categories. So I don't want to make these too big. However, I do want to make them big enough that I can see what I'm writing in them. So maybe right around here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, these are a little bit too small. Let me try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now I just did these freehand. I would not recommend doing that. If they ask you to draw a histogram, you're going to want to use either graph paper or use a ruler to make sure that these are nice, evenly spaced intervals. After this, I'm going to label these. Let's do that with something easier to see. Okay, so my very first one is 25 to 29. So I'm going to put that right in here. I'm going to put 25 to 29 and so on. So then this one is 30 to 34 and 35 to 39. Sorry if this is a bit small to see. 40 to 44. I don't have much space to work with though. 45 to 49. 50 to 54. 55 to 59, 60 to 64, and then 65 to 69. On the side, my frequencies, I don't need to be so extreme because these only go up to 5, and so I just need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I do now that I've got my axes labeled, so I've got X here, you could also label this as the number of passengers. That's what we were keeping track of. Frequencies, you could write out the word frequency, but F is good enough. The only thing left is to show the frequency in each one of our categories here as being a bar that comes up to the height of the corresponding frequency on our table. So for the category from 25 to 29, I only need to get up to a height of 1. And so I will show that here as a block. So there is my first category filled in. 30 to 34, it's also 1. Now, categories on a histogram, you need to put them right up in between each other. There can be no spaces in between adjacent categories for a histogram. You're going to see When I do bar charts, that's going to change. That's going to be one of the main differences. Here we put all of our categories right up next to each other. 35 to 39, I need to go up to 5. And so, again, I'm kind of wishing, actually I think I have a ruler on here. Yes, oh cool. Okay, so that goes up to about there, and then there, and so here is my next category. That's 35 to 39, and then 40 to 44. There I go up to about 3. And then 45 to 49, there I go up 2. '50 to 54, that one I go up 5 again. No, I don't want to do that. And 55 to 59, again, that's another 5. So let's see. '60 to 64, that's only 2. And the very last category, 65 to 69, that one is a 1. And so that's it. We've got our histogram. We've got everything labeled. There are no spaces in between the categories. And so we're done. Here's our frequency distribution table for an earlier example, the number of siblings. I figured that I should go through this one too on a histogram, just to show you another example. All right, so on the vertical axis, I label my frequencies. My frequencies only, actually no, they have to go up to 10, so I have to have much smaller categories here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So again, these are not perfect. I'm just doing this freehand. I think they get smaller as I go up the side there. Put a 0 here in the corner of your axes where the two axes meet. And along the bottom, I've got number of siblings. So I've got that labeled as X. And that needs to go from 0 up to 6. And 0 is actually one of the possible answers. So in that case, actually I'm glad I did this example because you should see this. In that case, you have to make 0 a category itself. So there's 0, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so now I can go through and create my bars for these. And so I'm going to have, for 0, it's going to go up to 3. Oops, what am I doing here? Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so there is 3 people that said that they have 0 siblings. And then 7 people say that they have 1 sibling. So we got to take this all the way up to 7. And then for 2, we have 10. Oops. And for 3, there are 3. Let's see. Oh, too far that time. So you can see that this is the same as the last one that I did. I'm making sure that I put all of my bars right next to each other, and I'm just reading the frequencies right off of the table. So once you have the table, the histogram is a very straightforward process. Okay, so for 4, there are 4. And for 5, there's nothing. And for 6, there is 1. Now, they do tell you that you're not supposed to have spaces in between your categories. But something like this is not really a space. There were 0 people in our survey with 5 siblings. So, of course, we don't have any data there. So that's why you'll see a space there. So what they mean when they say there's no spaces between adjacent categories, whether you have frequencies or bars in those categories, the categories are jammed right up next to each other. Again, this will be different when I get to bar data, to bar charts. Why is a bar chart different than what I have here, a histogram? Well, very simply, bar charts work with data that is not numerical data. For example, we were looking at colors of M&Ms that were in a particular bag of M&Ms. The colors were listed on the side here as being red, blue, green, yellow, brown, and so on, instead of numbers, numerical data like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So histograms we have for numerical data, whereas bar charts work with categorical or nominal data. And you're going to see that they differ in that we put spaces in between the different bars. And I'll explain why when I do the bar chart video. So we've finished with another histogram now. We've got everything labeled properly, and so that's it. We're done.